Catholic girl. This is not going to be a good thing.
Wow. I want to thank, of course, my dear friend Vicki. She's just incredible. Every day, what she does in advancing the causes of her late husband and my friend, the senator. Do we miss Senator Kennedy today? Yes. Imagine Senator Wyden knows what a difference it would make if he were here today with all of the issues that confront us at home and abroad. I do want to thank Vicki, who I speak with probably 2 or 3 times a week about issues big and small. No issues too small for Vicki, believe me. And she is an extraordinary friend of my family, my wife, my whole family. I'm very, very grateful to her. I'm very grateful that Senator Wyden is here tonight. I marvel at what he does every day up there. And I do want to pay a tribute to Congressman Richmond, who's here today from Louisiana. And I want to tell you, I've met Congressman Richmond and talked to him about BP and the oil spill and the need to do justice down there. And I must say he's been a very, very valuable, constructive force in trying to help people down there and work with the Gulf Coast Claims Facility and what I'm trying to do. And I'm grateful that he's here this evening. Thank you, Congressman. I also have to thank, of course, my wife Dee Dee and my family. My 3 children couldn't be here tonight, but every one of these projects that I've engaged in. You know, at night you have to go home. And she's been terrific in listening and expressing concern, making suggestions. She's just been a fabulous partner of mine for 35 years. And I also have to thank here tonight, publicly, not only my brother David Feinberg, who works at my side every day at the law firm, but Camille Byros, who's also here tonight. And as the Louisiana delegation knows here today, all of my friends here from Louisiana, Camille's been working 24/7 dealing with the Gulf Coast problems and the oil spill. So I thank her and David Feinberg. This award means a great deal to me. It's named after a 20th century legend, Hubert Humphrey, who helped define social justice in this country. Saul Stern helped create the award, and those who know Saul, know what he meant to this community, not only the Jewish community, but the secular community, in terms of social justice. An award like this, you have to appreciate that it's really not a Democrat or a Republican award. What NJDC stands for, the principles of social justice, it's apolitical. It shouldn't be a political issue. What I've tried to do over the last 35 years is take the bedrock principles which this organization promotes and go from theory and concept to practice. And it's not easy. It's not easy. Whether it's Vietnam veterans who are absolutely convinced to this day that their illnesses and their injuries were caused by exposure to that defoliant in Vietnam. If it's 9/11 victims, they come to this 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, and believe me, and my wife, David, Camille, they know this. Believe me, you could give 9/11 families $10 million each, and they would still look you in the eye and go, why? Why? How do you explain how my wife was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or my husband, or my children, or my grandchildren. Don't offer me money, Mr. Feinberg. That is a poor substitute. Give me back my family member. Let me take their place. And you would have to say, I can't do that. I haven't got that power. People would come to me during the 9/11 fund and say, there is no God. No God could allow this to happen. And you try and deal with it as best you can. You're given this assignment by the administration, by the Attorney General of the United States. You do the best you can. Virginia Tech. Horrible. I would meet with families, and they would say to me, Mr. Feinberg, I do not understand. I sent my daughter to Virginia Tech in the middle of nowhere, Blacksburg, Virginia, rural Virginia. How can it be that she and 31 other people are murdered by a deranged gunman in a place which is bucolic, where you would never in a million years think you're in harm's way? And again, you sit with people and you try and explain, where is it written that life is fair? Where is it written? Where are you guaranteed a free pass? Doesn't work that way. You do the best you can, again, with compensation, with money, as a rather poor substitute to grieving parents who don't understand how they could lose their son and daughter in a school purportedly safe. And now, an environmental tragedy of incredible proportions, where human nature being what it is, every single person down there who files a claim is absolutely convinced that their misfortune was caused by the spill. Doesn't matter to people in the Gulf. We can prove it, we can't prove it, we have documentation, we don't have documentation. Why are you bothering me with this? Of course, all of my trials and tribulations are due to the spill. Well, your boat was, at the time of the spill, your boat was in dry dock and you hadn't been out fishing for 6 months and there was going to be foreclosure on the boat. It doesn't matter. I was going to get that boat in the water the next day and we were going to go fishing and we were going to make a lot of money. Pay me. It is absolutely, these programs, and this is the point I want to make about all of these programs, whether it be judicially imposed like Agent Orange, whether Congress passes a statute like 9/11, whether private charitable contributions, unsolicited, flow into Virginia Tech and you got to set up some program to deal with it, or whether the administration sits down with BP and they have a handshake and they agree, let's create a $20 billion fund. In all of these cases, do not underestimate how emotion and human nature play into all of this. And if you understand that, you cope with these things. These compensation programs promote social justice. They do. They are a vehicle for getting valuable, needed compensation to people suffering. Absolutely. The goals of NJDC, the goals of the Humphrey Humanitarian Award, the principles that this organization stands for, these compensation programs, thank goodness, few and far between. They don't happen that often. They shouldn't happen that often. You hope they won't happen that often. But when the occasion arises, and you're called on to try and design and administer these programs, you do it in large part thinking about the objectives promoted by NJDC and by this great award that I'm receiving here tonight. So I'd like to think that what I do, you could do. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. Thousands of Americans could do what I do, despite contrary opinion. Believe me. I'm only as good as my last assignment, believe me. And I think that what you try and do when you take on these programs, you try and just advance the community's interest in trying to help people. Most of the time, as you all know, 99% of the time, when tragedy befalls people in this country, you look to the courts, you look to the lawyers, you look to the rule of law. Every once in a while, there is a tragedy so horrific, so unprecedented, so unique, that policymakers say, like with 9/11, let's just try and do it a different way. These programs are a precedent for nothing. They are a unique response each time to an unprecedented historical event. So I finally, I thank the Senator and the Congressman, guests, Vicki particularly, my family, and my colleagues at my law firm. I accept the award. It is a validation, I'd like to think, of what I try and do when taking on these projects. I try. And I'm enormously grateful to this great organization, to the principles for which it stands, for all of you being here tonight. And it means a great deal to me to know that I'm a recipient of this Hubert Humphrey Humanitarian Award. So thank you all very much.